Would you mind if I asked you a quick question?
Who are you?
My name's Key and I'm with the Rebel.
Oh no, I'm not talking to the Rebel.
I'm wondering if you can tell me, do you regret running as a communist?
I'm not talking to the Rebel.
So you don't regret running as a communist?
I'm not talking to the Rebel.
Can you tell me why you ran as a communist?
I'm not talking to the Rebel.
Do you think that the residents of Calgary Varsity know that you're a communist?
I'm not talking to the Rebel.
Do you think it should be treasonous to run as a communist during the Cold War?
I think that you should be registered as a third party because you're not an actual media outlet, so I'm not talking to you.
So you don't want to tell the residents of Calgary Varsity why you ran as a communist candidate?
I'm not talking to the Rebel. The Rebel is not a media organization.
I'm not allowed to ask you questions.
Not on a sidewalk when I've told you I'm not talking to you. This is harassment.
It's not harassment. You're a public figure and a communist who wants to represent Albertans.
This is harassment.
It's not harassment. It's reasonable questions. I just want to know why you're a communist.
Go to this house, so why don't we?
No, I'm just going to call the police.
You're calling the police because I'm asking you why you're a communist.
Because you're harassing me on the sidewalk.
You can go to your car, you can leave.
Calgary. Police, please.
We got a call
Yeah.
from Anne McGrath.
Yeah.
We got her side of the story, just trying to get your side of the story.
Yeah. So I got in my car, I came onto the sidewalk, it's all on tape, and I started asking her questions. She was actually a communist candidate back in the 1900s during the Cold War, and I thought that I could ask her some questions about her candidacy. She's running in the election, as you know. And then she said I was harassing her and called you. It was an interaction that was less than 5 minutes, I would imagine. I didn't follow her anywhere. I didn't leave this place. So is it a crime to ask politicians questions?
Oh, no, we just we come talk to you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate
Right?
I appreciate you guys following up.
Based on even the information that she's told us, there's nothing criminal. I mean, we've got talk to her, talk to you, right? We're just trying to figure out what's going on here.
Yeah,
right?
for
That's
sure.
all. I mean, obviously, if you are following her, right, it could potentially be construed as harassment. Potentially. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
right? I'm not
Understood.
charging her, arresting anything like that today, right?
And I'm going to ask her a few questions. I'm going to see if she regrets being a communist. I'm going to see if she regrets calling the secret police on a reporter. And I'm going to see what the everyday Calgary Varsity resident thinks about having a communist candidate running for the NDP. And you are the 1%. You really are the 1%. $200,000 in a year Rachel Notley gave you. Do you feel like you should redistribute that to the proletariat?
I want to acknowledge also something that's come up about my youth, and I want to assure you that I am not a communist. 4 decades ago, when I was a young student, I was a member, and I deeply regret that. It was a mistake, and I'm very sorry. I will say that both Jason Kenney and the Communist Party agree and have publicly stated that I am definitely not a communist.
And do you think that the residents of Calgary Varsity accept your apology? Anne, do you think that the residents of Calgary Varsity accept your apology? Well, we made some progress today. I frankly can't believe it that Anne McGrath actually apologized for running as a communist candidate. I don't think that she would have been driven to apologize if it wasn't for the Rebels' coverage on her. I don't also think that the residents of Calgary Varsity are ready to accept that apology. It remains to be seen. As you can see right behind me, the billboard is here. It's in Calgary. It was a quick turnaround, and we're just down the road from Anne McGrath's campaign office. You can see it right there. We're going to drive this bad boy around Anne McGrath's constituency to make sure that her constituents know that Anne McGrath in 1984 deemed it a good idea to run under the ideology of Stalin, Marx, and Chairman Mao. She's tried to censor us at every turn, but she can't censor this. I'm very excited. Let's hop into the truck and start driving. Standing outside of a house in Calgary that has been vandalized because it has a Stop Notley sign. It's not just a house, actually. It's a daycare for children run by a Filipino immigrant. And as you can see behind me, it says racist. On a fence behind me, it says Nazi. I couldn't believe it. Someone just texted me a picture of it actually as a bus drove by.
I can't believe it. It's election day in Alberta. You'd think Rachel Notley would have better things to do, but she's still trying to get her vengeance on the rebel. Voters are going to throw Notley and her NDP destroyers out of office today, but Notley's hand-picked election staff have just filed a flurry of new complaints against us at the Rebel and against me personally. I'm holding them in my hands right now. It's so bizarre. None of it makes sense. It's also obviously illegal, but they're doing it anyways. And here's the thing. Unlike Notley, they're permanent bureaucrats. So until Jason Kenney actually fires them, they will still be working away within the government of Alberta even after today's election. It's so bizarre. Let me give you just one quick example. I mean, they've been peppering us with crazy letters, but I'm going to show you just one, okay? Remember back in January I showed you this letter from Notley's hand-picked elections commissioner, a highly partisan activist named Lauren Gibson. He put us at the Rebel on trial without even letting us know. He convicted us in secret and told us about it afterwards in this letter. But look at that first sentence there back in January. I write in relation to an investigation undertaken by my office regarding a complaint from Elections Alberta. So Elections Alberta are the folks who run the elections, and this guy, the elections commissioner, is the guy who just convicted us in a secret trial. And they were talking about this billboard that we had put up last year. Well, as you might remember, we asked for a copy of the complaint that we were convicted for, and we still haven't received it. So that was back in January, right? Well, look what I got in the mail. Now, it's dated March 18th, but obviously that was backdated since I didn't receive it till just a few days ago, about that billboard that we had up last year, that the elections commissioner said this complaint was the basis for their secret trial in January. But I just got this. I just got it now. So how can you file a complaint after a trial is over? When the trial was supposed to be based on this. And why did the elections commissioner, I showed you, he said he had this complaint back then. He was lying. What's going on over there? You don't convict someone and then file a complaint about them. But what happened right before the letter was sent? Oh, nothing. Just Sheila Gunn Reid's new book called Stop Notley was released on Amazon and became an instant national bestseller. Funny how the timing works. Right after that is when this letter was sent. Well, there's a lot of excitement. What do you think they're referring to? Is there a particular result that has come through?
It sounds like Jason Kenney is appearing here. We're not sure.
Yeah.
Everyone's
it looks like Jason Kenney's coming in.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm hearing in my ear. I'm sorry. I'm getting a message from our decision desk. And yes, Jason Kenney is still the Premier of Alberta, and Rachel Notley is not. That's an excerpt from the Ezra Levant Show, which is a show I do every day. I do a monologue, interview an interesting guest, and then I read my hate mail. But you've got to subscribe to it, which you can do at premium.rebelnews.com.